The crystal wastes stretched to the horizon like a sea of frozen light. Every step Captain Aaron Wells took crunched softly on the glassy sand, and every distant crystal spire glittered under the twin suns. The air was still, heavy with a strange as if the ground itself was alive. Aaron's light armor gave little comfort against the heat, but he pressed forward. Somewhere in this vast emptiness lay the sigil of the crown, the prize of the ancient Lycerian trial. If he found it and returned alive, Serenia could choose him without the council's objection. Far behind him, at the edge of the desert, Serenia watched from a high palace tower through a viewing crystal. The nobles stood beside her, waiting to see the human fail. Aaron walked for hours, guided by nothing but the faint pull of a glowing compass crystal given by the trial's elder. The hum in the air grew louder as he neared a cluster of crystal pillars. Suddenly, one of the pillars moved. No, not a pillar. A guardian machine, ancient and tall, rose from the sand, its body shining like silver glass. Its single eye glowed bright blue. "Traveler," it said in a voice like wind over stone. "To bear the crown sigil, you must show truth of heart. Do not draw your blade unless you mean to strike." Aaron stood still, his hand far from his weapon. "I don't want to fight you," he said carefully. "Many say that," the guardian replied. "Few mean it." The machine raised an arm. A beam of light swept over Aaron, scanning him. "You carry fear," it said. "But fear is not weakness. Fear is the shadow of love. Walk forward." The guardian stepped aside. Aaron passed, breathing easier, but knowing more challenges lay ahead. By nightfall, the desert glowed with faint, silver light under the twin moons. Aaron made camp in a hollow between crystal ridges, but as he rested, shadows moved in the distance. These were not trial guardians. These were rebels. 3 figures crept toward him, their armor black to hide, their shine. Aaron rolled aside as a pulse shot struck where he'd been sitting. He drew his survival blade, the only weapon allowed in the trial, and faced them. "You don't belong here, human," one rebel hissed. "Go back to Earth, or stay here forever." Aaron didn't waste words. He dodged a second shot, rushed forward, and knocked the weapon from the first attacker's hands with a quick strike. Using only the flat of his blade, he fought to disable rather than kill. It was difficult, but his training paid off. 2 rebels fell stunned, and the third fled into the desert. Breathing hard, Aaron looked down at the fallen attackers. They were Lycerians, young and afraid. He could have ended them, but he hadn't. From the darkness, another voice spoke, smooth and deep. "Mercy, even for your enemies? Interesting." Aaron turned to see another guardian, this one shaped like a towering figure of crystal wings. "The trial watches," it said. "Remember this. Power without compassion is hollow." Continue north. On the second day, Aaron reached a deep ravine glowing with inner light. A narrow bridge of crystal stretched across. As he stepped onto it, the bridge cracked. A Lycerian child stood in the middle, crying. At first, Aaron thought it must be a trick, but the fear on the child's face looked real. "Help me," the child called. "I'm stuck." Aaron rushed forward, the bridge breaking beneath his boots. He grabbed the child just as the crystal gave way, swinging both of them to safety on the far side. When they landed, the child vanished in a flash of light. In its place stood another guardian, tall and slender. "You chose to risk your life for another," it said. "Even when you thought it might be false. This is courage, not foolishness." "Go on." Aaron wiped sweat from his face and kept moving. By evening of the third day, Aaron reached a massive crystal archway. Beyond it lay a circular platform with a glowing sigil at its center. But standing before it was the largest guardian yet, shaped like a lion of glass and silver, eyes burning gold. "To claim the crown sigil," it roared, "you must defeat me. Fight with all your strength, or turn back." Aaron drew his blade, knowing this would be the hardest test. The guardian pounced fast and heavy. Aaron rolled aside, striking at its leg, but his blade barely scratched the crystal. The lion struck again, knocking him to the ground. He scrambled up, dodged a third blow, and climbed onto its back, striking at joints where crystal plates met. Sparks flew. The Guardian twisted, throwing him off hard. Pain shot through his shoulder. As he hit the ground, Aaron raised his blade again, but then stopped. The lion wasn't roaring now, its movement slowed. Its voice was weaker. "Will you destroy me to take the sigil?" it asked. Aaron froze. He could do it. One final strike to the Guardian's core, and the sigil would be his. But as he looked closer, he saw the damage in its frame, glowing cracks, that had nothing to do with his blade. This Guardian had been slowly dying for years. Aaron lowered his weapon. "No," he said. "You're not my enemy. I don't need to kill you to prove myself." The lion stared at him for a long moment. Then it stepped aside. "Wisdom," it said softly. "You have passed." The glowing sigil floated from the platform into Aaron's hands. It was warm, pulsing faintly like a living thing. Far away, Serenia watched through the viewing crystal as the human emerged from the desert with the sigil. Her heart leapt with quiet pride, though she kept her face calm before the watching nobles. "He succeeded," Emperor Charon said with satisfaction. "No outsider has done this before." But several nobles whispered angrily. One scowled openly. "This does not make him worthy of our throne. It makes him dangerous." Serenia heard every word but said nothing. Her gaze stayed fixed on Aaron. As he walked through the gates, weary and dusty but alive, holding the sigil high. That night, the palace held a quiet ceremony to honor his success. But the celebration was brief. Reports came that rebel forces were massing in the outer city, preparing for a larger attack. Aaron stood with Serenia on a balcony overlooking the glowing streets below. "I kept my promise," he said with a tired smile. "I came back." Serenia nodded, her voice soft. "And you proved more than I hoped. You showed mercy where others would have taken victory at any cost. My people must see that." Aaron glanced toward the city. Will they? Or will they just see a human holding their sacred sigil? "Both," Serenia admitted. "Some will cheer. Others will hate you even more. But it no longer matters what they think. You faced our trial and passed. I can choose you now, and no law can deny it." Aaron took a step closer, his voice low. "And what will you choose?" Serenia's violet eyes met his steadily. "I already told you. My answer is yes." Below them, in the dark streets, shadowy figures gathered weapons. The rebels were not done. They would strike at the palace before dawn. Aaron didn't know it yet, but his greatest trial was still to come, not in the desert, but in the heart of Lyceria itself. The stars glimmered outside the wide crystal windows of the Lycerian royal palace. Captain Aaron Wells of Earth's diplomatic corps stood stiff in his dark blue uniform, trying not to let his nervousness show. He had been on many diplomatic missions, but none like this. The Lycerians were powerful, mysterious, and far older than humanity. Their empire stretched across 12 star systems, and one wrong word could break the fragile peace treaty Earth had signed only a year ago. Aaron looked around the audience chamber. Tall pillars carved from silver stone rose high above, supporting a domed ceiling that shone faintly with embedded starlight crystals. Strange flowers, glowing with natural light, hung from the edges of the hall. Lycerian guards stood like statues, wearing silver armor and holding long energy lances. Their faces were calm but unreadable. At the far end of the hall sat Emperor Chiron, ruler of Lyceria. His golden robe flowed down the steps of his throne, and his eyes were sharp as twin suns. Beside him stood Princess Serenia, his only daughter, dressed in elegant emerald green robes that caught the light as she moved. Her silver hair shimmered like moonlight, and her violet eyes seemed to look straight into a man's soul. Aaron had been warned she was clever, cautious, and not easily impressed. Aaron bowed low, as humans did. The Lycerians inclined their heads, slightly, their own sign of respect. "Captain Wells of Earth," the Emperor said in a deep, commanding voice. "You speak for your world?" "I do, Your Majesty," Aaron answered. I bring greetings from Earth and a message of peace and cooperation. The Emperor's expression didn't change. Peace is a fragile thing, it must be guarded carefully. Princess Serenya's eyes remained fixed on Aaron. She said nothing, but he felt her gaze on him like a quiet question. Was he trustworthy? Did he come with honest intentions? Or hidden schemes? The talks lasted for hours. They spoke of trade, routes, shared star maps, and joint research projects. But underneath every polite word, Aaron felt tension. Some Lycerian nobles clearly disliked humans. They believed Earth was too young, too ambitious, and might become dangerous. When the meeting finally ended, Aaron was exhausted. He left the main hall and walked into the palace gardens to clear his head. The Lycerian night air was cool and smelled faintly of crystal flowers. Strange birds sang softly in the dark. He didn't realize anyone else was there until he heard footsteps on the stone path. Turning, he saw Princess Serenia herself walking alone, her green robes trailing behind her. Her hair glowed softly under the pale moons. Aaron stepped aside quickly. "Your Highness," he said respectfully, "I didn't mean to intrude." "You are not intruding," Serenia said calmly. "I walk here to think. Negotiations are heavy on the heart, are they not?" Aaron nodded. "Yes, and they're harder when people expect you to fail." A small smile touched her lips. "You notice that too." They walked slowly down the path together, the silence between them not uncomfortable. The garden was full of tall silver trees with hanging lights and streams that shone like liquid glass. Serenia paused beside one of the fountains watching the water dance. "You spoke well in the council today," she said finally. "You were honest. Most diplomats are not." Aaron was a little surprised. "Thank you. Honesty is all I can offer, really. I'm just a soldier who learned to talk politely. Sometimes simple truth is stronger than clever words," she replied. For a moment they just stood there listening to the soft wind. Aaron felt something strange, a connection he could not explain. Serenia was beautiful, yes, but it was more than that. She had an inner strength, a calmness that drew him in. He didn't even realize he had spoken aloud until the words slipped from his lips like a breath. "I wish I could marry her," he whispered, thinking he was alone. Serenia turned sharply. "What did you say?" Aaron's heart froze. He hadn't meant for anyone to hear. His face turned red. I didn't mean, Your Highness. I'm sorry. That was out of line." The princess looked at him quietly, her violet eyes unreadable. For a long moment she said nothing, and Aaron wished he could vanish into thin air. Then to his surprise she smiled just a little. "Humans are bold," she said softly. "You speak your heart, even when you think no one is listening." It was just a foolish thought," Aaron stammered. "I didn't mean any disrespect." "Do not fear. I'm not offended," Serenia said. "But you should be careful, Captain. Words have power in Lyceria. Even whispers can echo." Before Aaron could answer, footsteps approached from the far end of the garden. A Lycerian guard bowed quickly. "Your Highness, your father summons you." Serenia gave Aaron one last look, a hint of something in her eyes he couldn't quite name. Curiosity, amusement, or something deeper? "Until we meet again, Captain Wells," she said, turning gracefully to leave. Aaron watched her disappear down the moonlit path. He let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. His heart was beating too fast. He told himself it was just the stress of the mission, but deep down, he knew it was more than that. Later that night, Aaron returned to his guest chamber in the palace. He sat at the desk, writing his daily report to Earth Command, but his thoughts kept drifting back to Serenia's face, her calm voice, her sharp eyes. He remembered the way she had looked at him after hearing his whispered wish. Not angry, not cold, almost intrigued. "This is ridiculous," Aaron muttered to himself. "She's a princess. I'm just a captain." But the memory of her faint smile stayed with him. The next morning, Trouble began to stir. Rumors spread through the palace halls. Whispers of nobles who opposed peace with humans. Secret meetings in shadowed rooms. Some claimed Earth was planning to seize Lycerian mining worlds. Others said Lycerian fleets were preparing for war. Aaron felt the tension everywhere. Guards looked sharper. Council members spoke in quick, guarded tones. Something was building. Something dangerous. During a meeting in the council chamber, an explosion shook the distant city. The palace alarms wailed for a brief moment, then fell silent as reports came in. An attack by unknown raiders on the outer defenses. No one knew if humans were involved, but suspicion rose like a storm cloud. As Aaron walked through the corridors, later he caught sight of Serenia speaking urgently with her father's advisors. She glanced his way for a brief second, her eyes steady, almost warning him to be careful. Aaron felt the weight of two worlds pressing down on him. The peace he had worked for was starting to crack. And somehow, he feared, his own heart was now part of the danger. That night, Aaron returned to the garden again, hoping for quiet. But this time he wasn't alone. Serenia was waiting by the fountain. "You should not walk alone," Aaron said carefully. "Things feel dangerous here." "Danger does not scare me," Serenia replied. "But dishonor does. Some in this palace do not want our people to live in peace. They will do anything to stop it." "Anything?" Aaron asked. She nodded. "Even betray their own emperor." Aaron hesitated. "Is there anything I can do?" Serenia looked at him for a long time as though weighing his soul. Then she said quietly, "You already have. You spoke truth when others lied. That matters more than you think." Aaron met her gaze. For a moment, the palace, the politics, the danger, all of it faded. It was just her, standing in moonlight, her silver hair glowing like soft fire. He wanted to speak again, to say the words he had whispered before, but he forced himself to stay silent. Still, as he turned to leave, he thought he saw her smile again, just slightly, as if she already knew what he wanted to say. The palace felt different the next morning. The air carried a sharp tension like a storm about to break. Captain Aaron Wells walked through the marble corridors, noticing how the Lycerian guards kept their hands closer to their weapons. Courtiers whispered in corners. Every face looked alert, watchful, as if danger could step out from any doorway. Aaron's official meeting was short. Emperor Chiron spoke gravely of the attack on the outer defenses, though he gave no hint of who was responsible. "We do not yet know if humans are involved," the emperor said, "but some on our council believe it is your people." Aaron chose his words carefully. "Earth seeks peace, your majesty. I assure you no human fleet fired on Lyceria." Chiron studied him with sharp golden eyes, then gave a slight nod. "I believe you, Captain. But belief is not enough to silence suspicion." When the meeting ended, Aaron slipped away into the gardens again, needing to think. The fountains were calm, the air cool with the scent of crystal flowers. But even here, the palace guards kept watch at every gate. He wondered if he would see Princess Serenia again, though he told himself not to hope too much. He didn't have to wonder long. Serenia appeared on the far path, walking alone, her emerald robe flowing around her like a soft wave. Her silver hair glimmered in the sunlight as if lit from within. When she saw him, she gave a small nod, almost like a greeting meant only for him. "You look troubled," she said as she reached him. "I think everyone looks troubled today," Aaron replied. "Your palace feels like it's holding its breath." Serenia's eyes were calm but serious. "The rebels grow bold. They hate this treaty with Earth. They say humans will use peace to learn our weaknesses. My father does not believe them, but others do." "Do you?" Aaron asked quietly. She looked straight at him. "No. I have watched you, Captain. You carry no lies in your eyes. I see only duty and something else." Aaron cleared his throat, unsure what to say. "Something else?" "A kind of warmth," she said softly. "It is strange among diplomats. Most speak only with cold caution." Aaron smiled faintly. "Maybe I'm not a very good diplomat then." For a moment, they simply walked through the garden, passing trees with silver leaves and small pools of water that reflected the twin suns. They spoke of lighter things, Earth's oceans, Lyseria's music, the strange foods each world had never tasted. Serena laughed softly when Aaron described ice cream and children chasing each other under sprinklers in the summer heat. But the light mood did not last. A sudden sound cut through the air, a distant explosion, followed by alarms ringing through the palace. Aaron's training took over at once. "Stay behind me," he said firmly, scanning the path. Serena didn't argue. From the far side of the garden, smoke began to rise. Several armored rebels burst through the hedge, holding strange pulse rifles that glowed with violet energy. "Down!" Aaron shouted, pulling Serena behind a stone wall as energy bolts struck nearby trees. He drew his sidearm, a compact human pulse pistol, and returned fire with sharp precision. 2 rebels fell, stunned, but more were coming fast. A Lyserian guard ran toward them from the palace gate, only to be struck by a blast and thrown to the ground. Serena's voice was steady, even in danger. "They are after me, not you. Go, Captain, while you still can." "Not a chance," Aaron said firmly. "You're not facing this alone." They ran down a narrow garden path as more rebels swarmed in. Aaron ducked behind a crystal pillar, shielding Serena with his body while he aimed carefully. His human weapon hummed, sending bright bursts of energy that stunned attackers without killing them. The rebels were surprised. His weapon worked differently than theirs and fired faster. By Tiu. The Time Palace reinforcements arrived. Aaron and Serena were cornered near a fountain, but Aaron held his ground, covering Serena until Lyserian guards charged in and drove the rebels away. The attackers fled into the city, leaving scorch marks on the palace walls. Serena stepped forward, her voice calm but commanding as she addressed her guards. "No harm has come to me. See to the wounded. Find the traitors." Aaron holstered his pistol, heart pounding. He turned to her. "Are you all right?" She looked at him for a long moment. "You risked your life for me." Aaron shrugged lightly. "You're a princess. Protecting you seems like a good idea. But you did not do it because I am a princess," Serena said quietly. "You did it because you care." Aaron opened his mouth, then closed it again. He didn't know what to say. She was right. That evening, the palace was sealed tight. The Emperor personally summoned Aaron to thank him for saving Serena. "You have earned Lyseria's gratitude," Chiron said gravely. "But be warned, Captain Wells. Some in this court see your courage as proof of a hidden plan. They will twist any act into a threat." "I understand," Aaron said, bowing respectfully. When he left the throne room, Serena was waiting outside. In the hall, she led him to a quiet balcony overlooking the glowing city below. The night air was cool, and the lights of 1,000 towers shimmered like stars. "Do you know why the rebels attacked today?" Serena asked softly. "Because they fear peace," Aaron said. "They fear change," she corrected. "They believe Lyseria must remain pure, untouched by other worlds. They would rather destroy everything than see humans treated as equals." Aaron leaned on the balcony rail. "And what do you believe?" Serena looked out at the city. "I believe no star shines alone forever. We are meant to share our light with others." Aaron glanced at her. Her silver hair moved gently in the wind, and the soft glow of the city reflected in her violet eyes. He felt words rising in his throat again, the same words he had whispered before, but he held them back. Serena broke the silence. "When you whispered in the garden yesterday," she said carefully, "you spoke from your heart. Few have ever spoken to me so openly." Aaron's face grew warm. "I didn't mean for you to hear that." "But I did," Serena said, turning to him. "And I did not dislike it." Aaron looked into her eyes. "Serena," he began, but footsteps echoed down the corridor. A guard appeared, bowing quickly. "Your Highness, the council gathers at once. There are demands to recall the human envoy." Serena's expression hardened. Then we must go. But remember this, Captain. There are many in this palace who wish you gone. Be careful. As they walked back through the corridors, Aaron realized something important. His feelings for Serenia were no longer just passing admiration. They were deep, dangerous, and impossible to hide. And from the way she had looked at him on that balcony, he wondered if she felt something too. Late that night, Aaron sat in his chamber, trying to write another report for Earth Command. His hands trembled as he typed. He told them about the Yai attack, about Lycerian rebels, about rising danger. But he left out one truth he could not admit. Not to his commanders, not even to himself. He was falling in love with Princess Serenia, and in the shadow of war, that love might cost them both everything. The council chamber of Lyceria was full of cold voices and sharper eyes. Captain Aaron Wells stood at the center of the circular room as Lycerian nobles spoke over each other. Human fleets were seen near our borders, one shouted. Proof? Emperor Chiron demanded from the high seat. Do we wait for proof while they prepare to strike? Another noble barked. Aaron clenched his fists behind his back. He had already explained twice that no human ship had fired on Lyceria. But the rumors would not die. Each whispered lie turned into a weapon. Princess Serenia sat beside her father, silent but watchful. When Aaron's voice trembled with anger, she gave him a calm glance as if reminding him to stay steady. At last, Emperor Chiron spoke firmly. Enough. We will not accuse Earth without evidence. Captain Wells will remain under my protection until this matter is clear. The nobles bowed, but their faces told another story. They were not pleased. That evening, Aaron walked through the palace corridors, feeling the weight of every stare. Guards no longer hid their suspicion. Courtiers whispered as he passed. Serenia met him in a quiet gallery lined with old star maps. The hall was empty except for glowing lamps and their soft footsteps. You should not walk alone, she said. You shouldn't either, Aaron replied. Half this palace seems ready to turn against you. She stopped by a tall window looking out at the twin moons above the city. It is not only me they turn against. They fear what I believe, that peace with humans is possible. Aaron stepped closer. And what do you believe about me? Serenia met his eyes. I believe you are not lying. I believe you are brave. And I believe... She hesitated as if weighing her next words. That your heart speaks louder than your orders. Aaron felt his pulse quicken. Serenia, He stopped himself, but the words refused to stay buried. I wish I could marry you. The words hung in the still air, clear this time, not whispered. Serenia turned sharply. Her violet eyes softened, but her voice stayed steady. You dare to speak that here? I dare, Aaron said. I know it's impossible. I know our worlds are different. But I can't pretend I don't feel it. Serenia looked at him for a long moment as though reading every thought in his soul. Then, to Aaron's surprise, she stepped closer. My answer, she said quietly, is yes? Aaron blinked. You mean you'd actually... Yes, she said again. If you asked, I would say yes. But Lyceria is not so simple. Our law forbids royal marriage to outsiders unless they prove themselves worthy. Worthy how? Aaron asked, frowning. There is an ancient test, Serenia explained. The trial of the crown, no outsider has ever passed it. Few even try. If you succeed, our people must honor the choice. Aaron took a breath. Then, I'll take it. You do not even know what it is. I don't need to, Aaron said firmly. If it's the only way, I'll face it. Serenia's eyes glimmered, not with surprise this time, but with something warmer. Be careful, Captain. Lyceria's trials are not games, and the enemies we both face will try to see you fail. News spread quickly. Somehow, by the next morning, the entire palace knew Aaron had volunteered for the ancient trial. The council tried to stop it, claiming it was reckless, but Emperor Chiron allowed it. If the captain dares to face our traditions, the emperor said, we will not deny him. But the rebels moved faster than anyone expected. Before the trial could even begin, an attack struck the palace gates. Explosions lit the night sky. Aaron rushed to Serenya's side as guards pushed her toward a safe chamber. "This is worse than I thought," Aaron said. "They're not just trying to end the treaty. They're trying to take the throne." Serenya nodded grimly. "They will fail, but they may try to kill you before you take the trial." "Let them try," Aaron muttered. A squad of rebels broke through the outer doors. The palace shook with the sound of battle. Aaron grabbed a fallen guard's energy lance and stood with Serenya's defenders. Together, they forced the rebels back into the streets. When the fighting ended, Aaron saw the Emperor himself arrive, his robe scorched from smoke but his voice unshaken. "Captain Wells, you have saved my daughter twice. I can no longer doubt your heart. Tomorrow you will face the trial of the crown." That night, Aaron couldn't sleep. He stood by his window looking out at the burning lights of the city. Somewhere out there, men and women plotted to destroy both him and Serenya. He thought of Earth, of his orders, of the career he was throwing away, but none of it mattered compared to the thought of her smile, her steady eyes, and her whispered, "Yes." A soft knock came at the door. Serenya stepped in, wearing a simple cloak instead of royal robes. "You should not be here," Aaron whispered. "If someone sees you, they will see a princess saying farewell," Serenya replied calmly. Aaron stepped closer. "Farewell? Don't talk like that. I'm coming back from this trial." Her voice softened. "Promise me, Aaron. Promise me you will not lose yourself in trying to win." "I don't understand." "The trial does not test your strength," Serenya explained. "It tests your soul. Many who try are destroyed not by failure, but by pride. Remember who you are. Remember why you do this." Aaron nodded. "I'm doing it for you. For us." Serenya gave a faint smile. "Then you cannot fail." For a moment they simply stood there in the quiet chamber, the world outside burning with unrest. Aaron wished he could take her hand, but Lycerian law forbade such open closeness between them. Instead, they shared a silent look that said more than any words. The next morning, the palace gates opened to reveal a vast landscape beyond the city, a shimmering desert of crystal sand known as the Wastes. The trial of the crown would take place there, guided only by Lyceria's ancient machines. Crowds gathered at the palace steps. Nobles watched with cold eyes, whispering bets on whether the human would survive. Serenya stood beside her father, calm but tense. Aaron stepped forward wearing only light armor and carrying no weapon except a small survival blade. A Lycerian elder approached, holding a glowing crystal seal. "Captain Wells," the elder said, "you will enter the Wastes and seek the sigil of the crown. You will be tested by the guardians of Lyceria. If you return alive bearing the sigil, you will have proven yourself worthy of royal bond." Aaron nodded. "I understand." Serenya's voice rose above the crowd. "May honor guide you, Aaron Wells." Their eyes met for a heartbeat. Then, Aaron turned and walked toward the shimmering horizon. Hours later, the desert swallowed him whole. The twin suns burned overhead, casting sharp shadows on the glassy ground. Strange crystalline spires jutted from the sand like frozen lightning. The air hummed faintly, alive with hidden energy. Aaron knew Serenya was watching from the palace towers. He could almost feel her gaze on him, steady as always. Somewhere in this alien wasteland waited the trial, and enemies who would rather see him dead than crowned. Aaron tightened his grip on his blade and kept walking. The chamber inside the royal palace glowed with the soft light of 3 floating orbs. The walls curved upward like a giant shell, etched with silver patterns that seemed alive. Every few seconds, the designs pulsed with quiet energy, like the heartbeat of the planet itself. Ethan stood at the center of the room, his boots clicking against the crystal floor. His heart pounded harder than it ever had in battle. Around him, guards in shining silver armor formed a circle, their tall spears humming with power. At the far end stood Princess Aloria, her pale blue skin illuminated by the faint light. Her long violet robe trailed across the floor, and her golden crown reflected the orb's glow. She looked calm, too calm for what was about to happen. King Thandros, her father, towered behind her. His deep voice echoed like rolling thunder. "Human," the king said, stepping forward, "you stand accused of breaking royal law. You spoke words forbidden to any outsider. You wished to marry the princess of Lunara." Ethan didn't lower his gaze. "Yes, I did. And I meant it." A ripple of shock passed through the guards. Eloria's lips curved into the faintest smile, but she quickly hid it. "Do you understand," the king continued, "that the law forbids such unions? Do you understand that your wish alone could bring war between worlds?" Ethan nodded slowly. "I understand the risk. But I also understand this: your daughter is not just a princess. She's brave, kind, and wise. I didn't plan to fall in love. But it happened, and I won't lie about it." A heavy silence filled the chamber. The silver patterns on the walls pulsed brighter, as if the room itself was listening. The council's warning. Before the king could reply, the side doors slid open with a soft hiss. Members of the High Council of Lunara entered, wearing long white robes marked with star-shaped emblems. Their leader, Elder Soren, spoke with a calm but firm voice. "Your Majesty, we must speak before judgment is passed. There are larger matters at stake." The king raised an eyebrow but stepped aside. "Speak." Soren looked directly at Ethan. "The Varen Dominion's fleets are gathering near your Earth's orbit. They've intercepted our transmissions. They know about you and the princess." Ethan's chest tightened. "So, they're coming here?" "They are coming for both of you," Soren said gravely. "They believe your bond could unite our worlds against them. They will strike first to prevent that." King Thandros clenched his fists. "They dare to threaten Lunara?" "They dare," Soren said, "because they fear what humans and Lunarans could accomplish together. If they attack, your laws will not matter. Survival will. The enemy arrives moments." Later, alarms blared throughout the palace. A guard rushed in. "Your Majesty, Dominion ships have entered our skies. They're demanding surrender of the human and the princess." The king's face hardened. "Ethan, whatever I thought of your words, you must fight with us now." Ethan grabbed his pulse rifle. "Wasn't planning on leaving." Eloria stepped forward, ignoring her father's warning hand. "I will fight too. If they want me, I won't hide. I'll stand beside Ethan." The king stared at his daughter, torn between anger and pride. Finally, he nodded. "So be it." They hurried through the shining halls as the palace shook under the first wave of plasma fire. Outside, the sky burned crimson as Lunara's defense shields lit up. Enemy craft streaked across the clouds, dropping soldiers in black armored suits. Ethan and Eloria reached the outer court. Together, they led a squad of palace guards defending the gates as blasts of green light tore through the walls. Ethan's rifle barked bright bolts of energy. Eloria wielded her royal staff, which sent arcs of pure light scattering enemy soldiers. "Nice shot," Ethan called, ducking behind a pillar as explosions shook the ground. "Focus, human," Eloria shouted back, her voice half amused despite the chaos, turning the tide. The battle raged across the palace grounds. Lunaran flyers screamed overhead while Dominion war drones swarmed like insects. At one point, Ethan shielded Eloria with his own body as a blast struck near them, sending both tumbling across the courtyard. "Are you hurt?" he asked, helping her up. She shook her head. "No. But we can't hold them forever." Then Elder Soren appeared, holding a glowing sphere. "This way, to the central tower. If we activate the Lunara beacon, every allied ship in the sector will come to our aid." Ethan covered Eloria as they fought their way through waves of attackers, blasting drones out of the air and pushing through fallen marble gates. The tower loomed above them, a spiral of silver that glowed brighter with every step. Reaching the top, Eloria placed her hand on the beacon's control stone. The structure flared with blue light, sending a beam into the night sky. Moments later, friendly cruisers burst from hyperspace, driving off the Dominion fleet with heavy fire. The enemy retreated. The palace stood scarred but unbroken. A new law. When the smoke cleared, Ethan and Aloria stood side by side before King Thandros. The council gathered again, this time in the open courtyard, where wounded soldiers rested and banners fluttered in the night breeze. "Father," Aloria said softly, "you saw what happened today. Our worlds fought together, not apart. Ethan's courage saved many lives." The king looked at Ethan long and hard. Then he spoke, his voice strong enough for the entire court to hear. "Perhaps our laws were meant to protect us, but when laws blind us to allies, they must change. Ethan of Earth, you are no enemy of Lunara. You are welcome here." Gasps rose from the crowd. Ethan blinked, unsure if he'd heard correctly. Does that mean?" The king's stern face softened slightly. "Yes. If my daughter chooses you, I will not stop her." Aloria stepped forward, her eyes shining. "I already chose." Ethan swallowed hard, feeling his voice catch. "And I already asked." The princess smiled and said clearly for all to hear, "Then my answer is yes." Cheers erupted in the courtyard. Guards pounded their spears on the marble floor. Even Elder Soren allowed himself a rare smile. The future begins. The next morning, under the twin suns of Lunara, Ethan and Aloria stood together on a high balcony. Allied ships circled overhead, ensuring peace. For now. "This isn't the end," Ethan said quietly. "The Dominion will be back," Aloria nodded. "And we will be ready. Together." He reached for her hand. "Together," he echoed. Below them, people of two worlds gathered, human envoys who had just arrived through new diplomatic channels, Lunaran citizens cheering their princess, soldiers from both races standing shoulder to shoulder. A new era had begun, Ethan smiled. For once the future didn't seem so distant or frightening. It felt bright and shared.